we were brainstorming about what this person should do. And when you have a job opening as a leader, what is your first inclination? And that's to talk about all the things that this person needs to do, that this person needs to own and handle. Right?
Task orientation. Come in here and do all this as a super person. Right.
Exactly. So we got started on that path. And then I said, you know what, let's pause. And how about you tell me, why should the perfect candidate be excited about working here?
Hey, welcome back to the Work Positive Podcast. I'm Dr. Joey Fawcett, your host, helping you grow people and profits through a positive work culture. I hear one common theme about every work positive culture initiative just about every day, regardless of whether the initiative is beginning or it's ending or it's midway. Same statements made every single time. Here it is. You must have the support of leadership. You hear it too, right? I mean, okay. My guest and I talk about that critical, vital importance of leadership today and how you can harness your power as a leader to help your team reimagine what's possible for themselves. My guest work is featured in important publications like Inc., U.S. News, and the New York Post. She's known for her business insights and her thoughtful, results-driven approach. So get your leader to listen in on this episode and discover how to grow people and profits through a positive work culture in this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. Work Positive Nation, you are in for such a treat in this episode. Got your leader with you because your leader is going to want to hear this episode also. Ashley Rudolph is in the Work Positive house. Ashley, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on.
Hi, how are you? I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. And so through the magic of Zoom, we're going from Manhattan to Dry Fork. Where the heck is that, Virginia, today? So it's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. You have such an intriguing story to me, you know, as Marvel Comics would have it, your origin story of how you got into leadership and you rose very quickly to leadership heights yourself. So what is it about Ashley Rudolph that just propels you to succeed?
Oh my God, I love that question. And I think about this sometimes because when I think about my journey in the workplace and how I got to where I was, it required a lot of courage and confidence in myself. And sometimes I think, where did that come from?
Really? You didn't wake up one morning and go, I'm confident, Ashley Rudolph.
Exactly. You know, and maybe I did, but I will say that one thing, or one of the ways, or one of the areas where I think my confidence came from was from my mom. And the type of person that she is someone that has a very high bar. So I grew up knowing that I could be good and good was fine, but if you could be good, why not be great? And I think that was one of the things that really guided me in my life is, you know, her just having a belief in me that I could do great things and really investing in me and nurturing that. So I think it comes from my mom. And then at a certain point, you're an adult and you're an individual and it's not about your parents anymore. And I just chose to do that myself and continue investing in myself as a professional and challenging myself and maybe going after roles and promotions that maybe I wasn't quite ready for, but thought I could do the work anyway. And so I think that's what drives me a lot is just knowing that I have the capacity to be great and why not try it?
Why not try it? Ramit Sethi talks about invisible scripts. So what were some of the invisible scripts that you feel like, you know, like if you look inside your head and your heart and you hear your mom saying things to you, what did you hear her saying?
Yeah. So I think the things that I've heard from her is keep going, keep trying. No is not a final answer.
I love it.
That's not the final answer. And maybe some of my managers didn't love that about me, but I had a great
that was their problem, right?
and not mine. I had a great way of just like developing this thick skin and I was able to hear no and still
Uh-huh.
find a way to push past it, So
Oh,
those were
oh.
like two things.
Yeah, sounds like a tortoise and hare situation. I was right. I was
Yeah.
listening to some Napoleon Hill recordings recently, and yeah, that's one of the things he talks about. In order to achieve, you just keep going and going. Consistent action
Yeah.
really wins
Yeah.
that day. So, was there a moment when you were growing up, Ashley, that you look back on that is that little movie snippet that you play in your head where you decided? I could be good, Ashley Ruff, but I'm going to choose great. Any childhood memory like that that you go back to and replay?
Yeah. And I wrote about this recently in one of my newsletters. Oh,
Oh,
there's my
nice.
dog. And it was this moment in seventh grade where, so I went to all Catholic schools growing up and I had some nuns for teachers. That's
Uh-huh.
a fun fact about me. And
Things you didn't know about Ashley Rudolph.
yeah, yes. So I had one roller skating nun in my
Oh my
school
God.
life, which is, yeah, she would
That's
roller skate
awesome.
in between classes. But this was Sister Anne, who was the complete opposite of that personality, if you can imagine.
Oh.
So
Mm.
she was tough and she was my English teacher in seventh grade.
Mm.
And when you think about assignments that you would give a seventh grader in an English class, it probably wasn't what Sister Anne gave us for our final assignment.
Oh
And
no.
she wanted us to write a 15-page research paper, MLA format, citing our sources. And we had to pick the topic. She had to approve the topic. It had to meet her standards. And then we had to deliver this 15-page research paper by the end of the class. And
Oh my
I
God.
remember coming home and I was just shocked at the assignment. And I kind of sat down at my computer and I tried to get started and I was frustrated. And I told my mom, I don't know if I can do this. And she told me, she was like, yeah, you can do this. It might be hard, but you can do this. What do you
Mm.
want to write about? And she just beautifully had me focus on what the next step or what one step was, which
Mm.
is, what do you want to write about?
Ah.
And I chose to write about ballet because it was something that I was interested
Easy.
in. I'm a
Uh-huh.
dancer, and
Uh-huh.
focusing on something that I was genuinely interested then made the assignment feel less scary. So once I got started and I had a topic and I got Sister Anne's approval that writing about ballet was okay, then
Thank God Sister Ann liked ballet.
exactly. Exactly. It was acceptable, but
Hmm.
then I was able to then focus all of my energy on doing deep research on something that I liked as an art form. I danced, but I
Sure.
never really understood who were the people that developed ballet or got famous off of it, like
Oh,
Balanchine and what may have you. So
sure.
it gave me a whole different perspective. And by the end of it, if I fast forward, I
Hmm.
did this beautiful research. I put this paper together and I got an A at the end of it after like wanting to give up in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
yeah, and I think that was one of the pivotal moments for me where it was like, oh, you can do hard things.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. So
and yeah,
there's your takeaway to adult Ashley, who
yeah,
is not taking no for an answer from her manager when she's
yep,
going to get stuff done. I
yep,
can do hard things. That's a
yeah,
lovely mantra.
yeah,
Is that one to which you return often when you're facing a daunting task?
yeah, for sure. And it
Mm,
is just that reminder of, yeah, I can do hard things. And I've had setbacks in my career. I
sure.
poetically got laid off in my first job and my last corporate job, right? So it's
You
like
bookended an amazing
I've
career.
exactly, exactly. And there was just so much growth in between. And
Mm,
the when I did get laid off this last time,
mhm,
I approached it from this place of, okay, yeah, this is a hard thing that's happening to me, and
mm,
I'll be fine. I'll figure out my next step. And I know that I'm still going to go off to do great things. And this actually doesn't have anything to do with my ability to do a great job in the
ah,
world outside of the context of this company
mm,
or what may have you. situational and it's a tough time. And I
Mm-hmm.
just happened to be someone who had to be let go because of financial problems, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it is something that I return to, even, when things are extremely hard or extraordinarily hard, and in my
Uh-huh.
day to day, if I'm just having a hard day, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
So there's one of those invisible scripts then that Ramit talks about. I can do
yeah,
hard things plays
yeah,
in the back of your mind. How
yeah.
can we, as leaders, use that kind of invisible script? In your case, it's I can do hard things.
Yeah.
How can we use invisible scripts like that to communicate to our team members about the kind of culture we're trying to create?
Oh man, I love that question so much. And I think there's two parts
Hmm.
for leaders specifically. And it was very true to me when I was leading a department. And it was what I said and what I did. If those two weren't in lockstep, then
Yeah,
there was no culture,
yeah, yeah.
right? Or people didn't buy into the culture because I may
Mm.
say something, but I didn't actually do the thing that I said.
So it was inauthentic at that point or disingenuous at
Exactly.
best.
Exactly.
Mm.
So I always led my team by the core principles that were important to me. And one of them is integrity for sure. So I
Mm.
think integrity is one of them, or authenticity. And then excellence was another one. Shouldn't be a surprise based on what I talked
Yeah,
about so
well,
far.
I'm standing here thinking Jim Collins from good to great. Ashley went from good to
Yes.
great.
Yes. Yes. And that was actually one of the books that I read, and you mentioned this in the beginning, right? I went
Uh-huh.
from an individual contributor to a vice president in 5 years. Like when I was an
Yeah,
individual contributor, I
exactly.
discovered good to great. And I was like, okay, yeah,
Here we
this is what
are,
I need. This is a
speaking my
framework
language.
for me. Yeah,
I love it.
exactly. So something clicked. So I love that you
Mm.
mentioned good to great.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That is so important. It seems to me, everybody talks about we need leadership. We got to have the support of leadership when we're initiating a culture transformation.
Yeah.
Leaders showing up,
Yeah.
representing the corporate culture values, though, is so important.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's not just something we stick on the wall, right? Frame, and it
No.
looks all nice and pretty. Uh,
Right.
I mean, please
Right.
put them on the wall, put them on
Yeah,
screensavers,
please
put them
do.
wherever
But
you can, right?
yes,
But
but live them every
live
day.
them. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
manifest those. So
Yeah.
let's say that I've got that personal, my personal passion and the company
Hmm.
purpose are aligned, and I'm a
Yep.
leader. How can I communicate that? Because, well, let me back up. We don't we don't talk a whole lot in Work Positive Nation about recruiting. We talk
Yeah.
about attraction because if I'm
Yeah.
trying to recruit you, and look, I have some friends that run recruitment agencies and they do an
Yeah.
amazing job, but it almost sounds like a sales job.
Yeah. Oh,
We'll,
totally. Yeah.
yeah,
There's
we'll
so much
lie to you to
overlap
get you to
between
come to
sales
work
and
here.
recruitment. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bit disingenuous, but attraction, when a culture
Yeah.
becomes that magnetic, or as I like to talk about it in one of
Yeah.
my upcoming books, Open the Front Door, that the culture magnetism really opens that front door and
Yeah.
invites people to come in. So
Yeah.
how do I, without being braggadocious or arrogant,
Yeah.
how do I confidently, like, channel my inner Ashley Rudolph and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, I can do hard things." How can I represent that in conversations
Hmm.
with top talent?
Yes. So all of the questions that you're asking me, I'm like, I love that question. So,
Well, thank you.
so I
I love your
actually,
answers. They're amazing.
I went through this with one of my clients recently where
Okay.
he was hiring for a new role in leadership, head of communications, right?
Okay. All
And
right.
we were brainstorming about what this person should do. And when you have a job opening as a leader, what is your first inclination? And that's to talk about all the things that this person needs to do, that this person needs to own and handle, right?
Task
So,
orientation. Come in here and do all this
exactly.
as a super person. All right.
Exactly. So we got started on that path, and then I said, "You know what? Let's pause. And how about you tell me, why should the perfect candidate be excited about working here? Let's start there. What is exciting about this work?"
Deer in the
And
headlights look, right? Oh,
yeah, but it was a circuit breaker moment, right? It was a circuit breaker.
Yes,
And
I
he
love
was
it.
like, wait, you know what? There are many reasons why someone would want to work here. And the person that I would want in this seat would probably want to do this, do that, do that, do that.
I
And it
love
was
it.
very clear at that point what the scope of the role is, but also who was the person that we were trying to attract
Mm,
in this specific role by the way that we were talking about what the job responsibilities were. And
mhm.
the perfect person ended up in the role. And
I
you
love
couldn't
it.
be happier with
That's
it. But I
great.
think it's a simple question. And it's
Yeah.
why would the perfect candidate be excited about working here? And when you think about attraction, right, then you start to speak to that person who doesn't exist yet, but in the language that they would want to hear. And that's how
Mm.
you, yeah, start to attract the right people.
I love it. 70% of our waking hours are spent at work anyway.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
wouldn't it make work more fun
Yes.
if these are people we would choose to be with, some of them outside of
Yes.
work, or people with whom we
Yes.
share the same values and behaviors?
Exactly. Exactly. And it becomes easier to pinpoint who's not right for the role when you talk about it in that way. Then you
Yeah.
start to see, oh, yeah, actually, you're not a fit. Maybe on paper, if I look at the tasks,
Mm.
maybe you are capable of doing these tasks, but you being excited about these responsibilities, you show up in a different way than, yeah, just your ability to do a
Very
thing.
much
Yeah.
so. Yeah. And
Yeah.
again, it's that individual passion and the company purpose that are gaining alignment there. So I refer
Yeah.
to that as belonging. I
Yes.
truly
Yeah.
belong in this culture, and it just
Yeah.
is a right fit.
Yeah.
And as we know, it can cost anywhere from 2.5 to 10x a person's annual salary to go out and find somebody else and train them. So we have a
Yeah.
vested interest in getting it right off the
Getting it
bat.
right.
But actually,
Yeah.
once they come into our culture and they begin working on our team, you
Yeah.
talk a lot about helping our team. Let me see if I can get this right now. Envision, or your words, reimagine
Mm, mm,
themselves. And
mm-hmm.
that seems to
Yeah.
be a key component of retention to me. How
Yeah.
do I, as a leader, actually help my
Yeah.
team reimagine themselves?
Yes. So I'm going to start with a moment that a manager helped me reimagine what was possible for me.
Oh,
And
sweet.
I've taken that and I use
Yeah.
that throughout my career. But
Hmm.
I had a manager who I was at the like program manager level. So I was manager of programs. I didn't have any direct reports yet,
Okay.
but on a director track. And I didn't see that for myself at the time. She saw it for me. And
Mm.
there was one day where she called a meeting. It was on my calendar, and I think it was a growth conversation. I don't remember what the topic of the meeting was. And she sat me down and she had created a PowerPoint presentation for me that basically outlined my journey, where I started at the company, where I was now after being promoted one time,
Uh-huh.
and where she saw me going, the next step. We
Wow.
had not talked about
Uh-huh.
the director level, but
Uh-huh.
she was thinking about it. And she basically said, your next step is a director. And this is what it may look like. She even put the compensation there, right? Like
Got your
something
attention.
that was motivating.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's right.
And the responsibilities, what came with being a director, her expectations of me. And we
Yeah.
talked it through, and I was floored. I was basically like, well, I didn't see this for myself. I didn't know that I
Mhm.
had the capacity to lead. I just wasn't thinking about it. I was just very much heads down doer. I care about doing a good job. Wasn't thinking
Yeah.
about the
Yeah. Let
future.
me go be great, Ashley. Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And during that conversation, it wasn't in the slide deck, but she said to me, she said, "You I want for you to take my job one day. You could have my job one day."
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and she was the general manager. We didn't have a COO at the time, but I think she could have had that title, right? But it was just general manager, and
Sure.
not just, but she was a general
Yeah,
manager.
right.
And that opened up another realm of possibility. So it wasn't just about the director level. This was about my potential to just be a very senior leader in the company.
Mm.
And she completely reimagined what I thought was possible for myself. She pulled me out of my head in that 30-minute meeting. It wasn't even
Mm.
an hour.
Mm.
And from
Transformative.
that,
Mm.
yeah, completely transformative. But
Mhm.
also, she didn't give me the director level. She just told me what was possible. I had to
Ah,
choose to show up and I had to
ah.
choose to operate at that level in order to get the director level promotion. So,
Mhm.
and that was something that I took with me throughout my career. And when I became a senior leader, then I started to have those conversations with my team. I did it in my own way because
Wow.
I didn't necessarily have to replicate her
Yeah,
entire
yeah, you did
strategy,
it
but
your way. Hmm.
exactly. So I took away from that there is power in telling someone what you see for them based
Hmm.
on their capacity, based on, what they're able to do
Hmm.
without signing up for something that you may not be able to deliver on, without saying like you will be a director in 6 months and then that comes to bite you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
right, right. So
a
instead of being
vision.
prescriptive, it was descriptive. Ashley, here's what I
Yeah.
see for
Yes.
you. So it was more
Yes.
vision casting, and I
Exactly.
think of those conversations as becoming conversations.
Yes.
Here's what you can
Exactly.
become in the
Yeah.
company. So here are those next steps, and particularly Gen Z
Yeah.
is and millennials too, all
Yeah.
about seeing what are my next steps, where can I
What
advance,
are
how can I
they?
grow. Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And she got ahead of that. I wasn't even thinking about it, but
Mm, I
at
love
that
that part.
moment, yep, at that moment, I was like, okay, here's what's possible. But then because she did that, then I put myself in a position to take ownership over my own career growth after that point in time. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, director's possible. Great. So is senior director and so is VP. And like
Yeah,
there
so
on
she
out.
she
But
just pointed
yeah,
it out for you and said, "Here's
yeah,
what could be," and then you named it and claimed. She named
yeah,
it, you claimed it, and
yeah,
off to the races. And I
yeah,
love that. And that's really what we're looking for, not only belonging, but the becoming conversations to say,
yeah,
here's what I see for you, because that instills confidence, and
yeah,
particularly in a woman at a general manager position speaking into a younger woman's life. That's
yeah,
there's just that's high octane. It just really burns cleanly. I love that. Ashley
yeah.
Rudolph is my guest on this episode of the Work Positive podcast. Hey, if you obviously already love Ashley as much as I do, and just so admire and respect her. Her LinkedIn profile is in the show notes. So unless you're on the Peloton or you're out walking a dog, dodging traffic or something. Uh, by the way, we want to welcome Ailey, Ashley's dog, to the episode today.
Yes. Hello, Ailey.
Ailey we haven't seen Ailey yet, but we might have an Ailey sighting before the show's
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
Go down to the show notes at some point when you got a minute, and go over and connect with Ashley. You'll thank me later. You'll be glad you did. So, what are some of the challenges that you see, Ashley, for leaders today in terms of having these belonging and becoming conversations, whether attracting top
Yeah.
talent or retaining?
Yeah. One of the biggest, I think, barriers that I see to even thinking about these things is one is a tough time to be a leader. There's so much change happening, there's so
Ooh.
much uncertainty, right? Things are shifting, there's layoffs, what may have you, right? And
Mhm.
one of the biggest barriers that I see is like being stuck in a constant state of reactivity, which prevents you from doing that proactive thinking. So I think a lot of leaders fall into the trap of not thinking about it until it becomes a problem. So
Mm.
instead of
Mhm. Mhm.
having a becoming conversation, especially with someone who is so strong on your team, you get to the point where they become frustrated because maybe they
Sure.
don't feel recognized or they don't feel
Oh,
like they
yeah.
have a path. And then they come to you and they say they're upset and they want to leave. And then you have to hand the money or something like
Yeah.
that. Right.
Yeah. Trivialize the
So,
whole conversation by saying, well, how much is it going to take
yeah.
to keep you, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the number one barrier is like being sucked into that state of reactivity where you're responding to
Hmm.
the emails that are coming through, the shifts in strategy. Wow, shifts is a hard word for me today. But
Well, there's a lot of it going on, right?
yeah, shifts in strategy or fires that you have to put out that you
Hmm.
just are not able to think about, oh man, who should I be taking care of on my team? Or
Hmm.
who in whatever way, who should I be taking care of? Like who might
Hmm.
be trailing behind, who
Hmm.
might be ready for the next step,
Mhm.
even if I can't give them a raise right now. It's about that becoming conversation, like you said, so they can know what's
Yeah.
next. And people are adults. I think they can do hard things, they can hear hard things. If it's the company is actually having a hard time right now, we're not handing out raises for a quarter or for 6 months. I think someone would rather know that and know that they still are seen as someone who has growth potential, someone
Mm.
who's on a positive career trajectory than to be stuck in the unknown and,
Yeah.
feeling like they're not
And the
valued.
ironic thing is, finance is just one metric of belonging and
Yes.
becoming, right? And
Yes.
typically, in
Yes.
most surveys I see of team members, it's maybe third at the highest, sometimes as
Yeah.
low as fifth.
Yeah.
So the kind of
Yes.
belonging and becoming conversations you're talking about are truly, truly, truly life-changing and transforming as
Yeah.
you experienced. So
Yeah.
just because we
Exactly.
live in a, as my friend Dr. Bob Johansson talks about it, a VUCA world, right? The volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, the
Yeah.
ambiguity, we
I
can
love that.
still, yeah, we can still clarify, right?
Yes.
And still speak that kind of life into our employees, right?
Yeah.
What's another challenge you see leaders facing today to live out in this way?
Yeah. That's another let me think about that. So it's the reactivity over proactivity.
Hmm.
The other thing that I see is orienting around perfection instead of progress, right?
Oh,
So,
can you say that
yeah.
again, please? Just say that one more time. Because in a VUCA world, it seems like there's so many people who are retreating, right,
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
this. No, we got to make sure we get this right, and oh
Yeah.
my God, it's
Yeah.
stifling innovation and creativity in so many
It
places.
absolutely is. So, prioritizing perfectionism or perfect over progress, you really
Yeah,
don't need to do that, right?
right.
Like, what we want to see is forward momentum. And
Mm,
even though we live in a VUCA world, right, like you said,
hmm.
tiny steps are still steps.
Right.
And even if it's not the perfect outcome that we were shooting for, that we thought was possible before things shifted, progress is still better than perfect.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
headed off in the right direction because
Yeah.
Young Ashley Rudolph went from good to great. She did not go
Yeah.
from good to perfect, right?
No,
I'm
no.
not sure that's attainable, but then that comes from a
No.
rather skewed, insecure, awkward vision of the
Yeah.
self, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's okay for me to make those mistakes, for me to even fail, because I didn't really
Yeah.
fail. It was a learning that
Yeah.
I enjoyed as those baby steps lead to.
Yeah.
Now I've got Neil Armstrong on July 20th, 1969 running through my head. One small step for
Yeah.
humanity,
Yes.
one giant leap for mankind as he stepped onto
Yeah.
the moon. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, just celebrating those steps, I think, is
Yes.
supremely important and
It's
can meet
so
that VUCA world
important.
challenge that we find ourselves in right now.
It's so important. And one of the most powerful things that I did as a department leader, when I was running a project management office,
Uh-huh.
was so, as a company, you set your goals at the beginning of the year,
Sure.
and our company had goals. And the thing that I thought was always important was to tell my project managers exactly how the work that they were doing were in service of those goals. Sometimes people
Mm.
think, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not, I'm not supporting revenue goals. Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I'm in operations. I'm not in sales.
Yeah, no, that doesn't matter. So the
Yeah.
thing that I would do is once the company goals were set, I would go and do the translation. And I would say,
Right.
here are the things that our team is working on, and they are directly in support of these goals. And
Mhm.
we had a weekly team or bi-weekly team meeting. And in
Mhm.
every single one of those meetings, I highlighted people's work who were making progress towards the goals that we had set at the beginning of the
Mm.
year.
Mm.
And it made it less of a, oh yeah, we set those things at the beginning of the year and then we forget about them. And then
Yeah, made the goals
once,
relevant, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then once Q4 comes around and you're scrambling and you're like, what about those goals?
Oh my
No,
God.
like,
Yeah, we haven't hit the
yeah,
goals.
exactly. But we talked about it every other week and people were
Mm.
able to directly say, oh my gosh, yeah, I had this big win in this project that is
Mhm.
in direct support of whatever initiative
Sure.
A, B, C, D at the company level.
Right.
And that made my team really proud of the work that they were doing. And I did not have a team that felt like their work didn't matter or that they
Mhm.
weren't making an impact, even though they maybe felt a couple of levels removed initially
Sure.
from the
Sure.
big picture when those goals were presented. But as a leader, you actually do have, you have the authority to connect those dots for your team and kind of set that culture, like you were
Mhm.
saying, where they feel like they're making an impact or can have an impact and that they are driving progress in the company too,
Mm.
even if things feel like they're uncertain or
Mm.
things are shifting, they still can be doing things in their day to day that have an impact.
Which is another key ingredient of belonging, right? Because you're
Yeah, yeah,
connecting that individual team member's daily task with the company mission, and specifically in that case, the goals for the year. And so
yeah,
we're connected. We're seeing how that works. Ashley
yeah.
Rudolph is my guest on this episode of the Work Positive podcast. So go to connect with her on LinkedIn when you have a moment. You can do that right now while you're listening. That'd be a great thing to do. Also, you can go over to her website, which is workwithashleyr.com. And that's in the show notes also, but just in case you're typing it in right now, that's ASHLEY, workwithashleyr.com. Ashley, what are we going to find when we go to your website?
Ooh, so what you will find is a summary of what I do. You'll find who I am. You'll also find a link to my newsletter where I
Hmm.
publish fresh insights for high achievers that are already successful in the workplace, but really want to figure out how to increase their impact, basically, is
Gotcha.
how I would describe it. So you'll find
Wonderful.
all of those things on my website. I also have a free diagnostic for people who want to understand maybe where they are at work or how they're perceived based
Mhm.
on the feedback that they've gotten from their manager or from their colleagues and how they are doing at work. So, whether you're advocating for yourself, self promoting, and
Mhm.
once you finish that diagnostic, you'll have my recommendations for, well, one, I'll assess where you're at, but then you'll also get my
Yeah.
recommendations for how you can continue to increase your impact at work.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for offering that free to Work Positive Nation. Work
Yeah.
Positive Nation always wants to know from my guest, Ashley, what's their one thing? So, Ashley Rudolph, let me ask you, what's one thing you would recommend to Work Positive Nation to start doing today to create a positive work culture?
Yeah. And if I could use one word, that's hope. But then, of course, there's a sentence. So create a sense of hope on your team. And the way that I've done this in the past and what I recommend my clients to do is create ceremonies. And hope exists because people have something to look forward to. And if they don't have anything to look forward to, then there is no hope. And that's a hard culture to navigate. So there are key times in the work year where you can easily introduce some sort of ceremony on your team, whether it's having an end of year presentation that you do. And your team knows consistently every year that you will celebrate their wins and the hard work that they did over the year, or you will contextualize from them with your business perspective and the behind the scenes information that you have as a leader. Like, hey, what does this mean in context? What did we accomplish this year? Why is that great? What was hard about this from a business perspective? And doing those two things, I did an hour-long meeting at the end of the year every single year, and the team just felt so great. So I would say, like, the underlying thing there was that I created a sense of hope. And the team had something to look forward to. They always knew what they were marching towards, and they knew that they would be recognized for everything that they invested.
Mm, boy, hope is always an essential part of a positive work culture, isn't it, Ashley?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
it
love it.
is.
Thank you so much. Well, I hope, in fact, I know that you've gotten as much as I have Work Positive Nation out of this conversation with Ashley Rudolph. So, Ashley, let me just say thank you from all of us in Work Positive Nation for sharing your time, your wisdom, your insights. I'm better for the conversation, and I know Work Positive Nation is as well. Thank you so much.
And I'm better too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. Please share this podcast with your friends who are HR and small business leaders so they can do one thing today to create a positive work culture that increases productivity and profits. I'd like to give you a free Work Positive course just for listening. It's called Something to Talk About, and it's transformed the work conversations of so many people all over the world. Get your free copy when you go to workpositive.today/something to talk about, and you can start transforming your conversations today. Remember, it pays to work positive.